Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To Madam Nurmazana binti Hasan. My name is Aina Shaza binti Azhari and I'm from KAD 112B. Today I would like to present my individual assignment titled Underlying Creative Process of Islamic Design. First, I will start with the introduction. Islam is a monotheistic religion that based on the Quran and the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, whose followers are called Muslim. Islamic art refers to artworks that created since the 17th century within Islamic cultures by both Muslim and non-Muslim. It is difficult to define because it spans over 1,400 years across many regions and cultures. Islamic art includes many forms such as architecture, calligraphy, painting, ceramic, glass, and textiles. Now, I will explain about the Islamic worldview. The Islamic worldview is based on Allah, Prophet Muhammad, and the Quran as the foundation life and belief. Islam means obedience and surrender to Allah, while the Islamic worldview provides guidance on life, reality, and human responsibility. It emphasizes the concept of Tawhid, or the oneness of Allah, the role of human as Khalifa on earth, and life as Amana, which is trust. Tawhid also shapes on how Muslims understand Allah, the word, and their responsibilities as an individual and members of society. Now, I will explain the content and form in Islamic art. There are 4 points that you should know. First, Muslim artist is conscious of the importance of the content in the artwork. Second, the content must determine the form. Third, the message of Islam, which is Tawhid, that being transmitted through form. And lastly, it has to be addressed prior to the creation. Now, I will explain about the concept of Tawhid in artwork. Many or Islamic art use geometric, floral, and calligraphic patterns based on the concept of Tawhid, which emphasize the oneness of Allah and unity in diversity. Many woodcarvers express philosophy, beauty, and spirituality through their artworks. In Islam, art is seen as a way to seek beauty and strengthen connection with Allah. It is narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari that states Allah is beautiful and loves beauty. It highlights the idea that represent a spiritual path to seek beauty, draw closer to Allah, and attain a deeper understanding of Him. So, Islamic art carries both aesthetic and spiritual values that bring humans closer. There are two processes in creative artwork. First, we have A, which is the problem solving process that contain, define, analyze, ideate, select, implement, and evaluate. Second, we have B process, which is the creative process. It contains imitation of nature, stylization of nature, which is denaturalized, and also abstraction of nature. Now, I will explain about the problem solving process in Islamic design. The problem solving process in Islamic design focuses on fulfilling both functional and religious requirements, such as creating harmonious, non-figurative, and practical designs. Islamic art allows artistic creativity as long as it follows Islamic teaching and does not challenge the belief in the oneness of Allah. Some scholars also permit drawings of living creatures when they are not intended for misuse. For example, it can be seen in the artwork Semangat Ledang by Sheikh Ahmad Jamal. He stylized his artwork by using uh, abstract elements. In the problem solving process, we have a different process which analyze the information in the artwork and observe it to synthesize them. Next, we also have analyze, which is study the context, audience, and elements. We also have ideate process, which is artists create potential solutions to figure out the problem outlined in the problem statement. Select in problem solving process refers to choose the most suitable idea that aligns with Islamic values and design objective. We also have implement process. It is the experimental phase to identify the solution to produce artwork. Last, we also have evaluate process, which is evaluate final artwork whether it successfully communicates the intended meaning and follows the Islamic concept. In the creative process, we have imitation of nature, which is Muslim artists imitate nature to produce their artwork. Next, the stylization of nature. Artists cannot reproduce nature. They allow to imitate nature, but it is not the true thing. Instead, it was an illusion. Last, we also have abstraction or nature of nature. Abstract painting abandon naturalistic representation. Islamic art is recognized through its unique style, visual style that reflects the concept of Tawhid or unity through symmetry, harmony, and rhythm. Instead of imitating physical objects, Islamic art emphasizes deeper spiritual meaning. This is why geometry and calligraphy are important elements as they represent the structure of space, time, and language. In calligraphy, geometric proportions are carefully used to create balance and harmonious composition. Next, I will explain about the form generation. There are 6 points that you should know in this topic. First, we have a visual elements of form. Second, perception theory. Third is the communication theory. Fourth, we have human factors and dimension. Fifth, we have a form configuration, structures, and material. Lastly, is the unity of form. In form generation, they have form, which is a three-dimensional object that have length, width, and height. There are also the elements of art, which is line, shape, value, texture, and color. Lastly is the principle of organization, which is harmony and variety. We have six visual elements of form, which is first we have dimension, second is shape, third is the color, fourth is the value or tone, fifth is the texture, and last is the proportion. Now I will explain about the perception theory. Perception theory explains how the brain interprets and organizes sensory information into meaningful experience. In visual art, perception involves understanding visual elements as complete forms rather than separate parts. This process is influenced by a person's knowledge and past experience to allow viewers to recognize objects and patterns even when visual conditions change. In perception theory, they explain about the two and three dimensional form perception, binocular cues, illusion monocular cues, light or brightness. Moreover, perception theory also refers to space, distance, depth, and position. Moreover, it also contains orientation, motion, and time for the perception theory. There are two types of communication theory, which is first we have verbal and non-verbal communication, which explain about the pattern recognition, human recognition, uh, that relative to social, cultural patterns, and visual language. Second is semiotic, which is theory of science, which that contain a theory by Charles Morris, semiosis, syntactics, semantics, and pragmatics. In human factors and dimension, it refers to user requirements. Second, social or cultural factors. Third, we also have economic factors. And last but not least is anthropometrics, or we call it human dimensions. There are two types in form configuration, structures and materials. First, we have structure system, which explain about the static structures, solid, skeletal, and surface or planar. Second, we have materials and their characteristic, which explain about the wood, paper, plastic, metal, fabric, ceramics, and glass. Lastly, the unity of form. So, what is unity of form? Unity means one is an organization of parts that fit into order of a whole and become vital to it. There are three types. There are three things in unity of form that you should know. First, art forms. Second is architecture, and lastly is design forms. So, to sum up, Muslim artists use concept and elements that are suitable in their artwork, such as floral geometry, denaturalization of nature, and others in their artwork, since Muslims believe that our creation is beautiful and no one can imitate it. Furthermore, there are a lot of part in form generation that designers can learn. That's all from me. Thank you.